Hey everyone, Brian here. I just wanted to talk with everybody today about how to get a great mediumship reading. I want to start by just kind of differentiating. There's sometimes a lot of confusion from clients as to what a medium actually is and what they do. A medium, a spirit medium, is someone who is able to connect and communicate with people and sometimes pets in the afterlife. There is an afterlife. There was a time when I was very skeptical in my life, but I've seen evidence of it firsthand. I know for a fact that there's an afterlife. I would start by saying, all spirit mediums are psychic. So psychic just refers to the ability to pick up information through extrasensory perception, through means outside of our recognized five senses. So we actually have, and I don't want to go too much into this, but we actually have an extra set of senses. In addition to our regular senses, we have what's called clairvoyance or clear seeing. So you can kind of think of this like seeing an image in our head, but seeing it as though it were visually actually there. Might sound a little weird. It's kind of hard to describe it. We also have clairaudience. So that's an ability to hear things that are not physically present. So sometimes, I as a medium, I tend to be more clairsentient and clairvoyant. But there are times when I might hear psychically a name or a date or a word. I was giving a reading to someone this past week, and we were talking about people that they had lost in their family, and I kept hearing the word New York, and I just I didn't know why I was sensing this or hearing this, but I kept hearing the word New York. So I put it out there and I said, for some reason I keep hearing the words New York, and they started to laugh hysterically, and they're like, yeah, my whole family's from New York. So but we have a whole other set of senses, but most of us have never really learned how to tap into. And so a psychic has all of those. Medium is a psychic who works on a different level. So they work at a higher vibration of energy than a psychic does. And so they tend to be able to detect people who have passed. And sometimes, those people will communicate via memories that they had of their lifetime, or it could be, a taste that they just really loved. I remember one reading I had, I kept tasting coffee, black coffee, as I was talking. And I was telling this person, I said, for some reason, like this person that I'm connecting with, they keep giving me the taste of black coffee as I'm talking. And again, this person laughed, and like, my dad drank coffee all day long, and it was black. He didn't drink it any other way. So that's how spirit communicates with us. And so I would say that all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. And so I often encounter clients who've been to people who read tarot cards, or people who read runes, or who use a pendulum. I mean, there's any number of things out there that will help an individual connect with their psychic abilities. And that's how some psychics work. If you really want to go to somebody that can connect with people on the other side, though, you want to go to a medium rather than just a regular psychic. And so people tend to have a lot of skepticism sometimes when they work with a medium, and that's understandable. I mean, it's not something that everybody does. If you had asked me 20 years ago, are you going to be talking to dead people as a career, I would have probably laughed in your face and called you crazy. But now I feel like the little boy in The Sixth Sense. It's like, but I think to really go to a medium, you probably should have some degree of skepticism. Now here's the caveat to that. If you go in with so much skepticism that you're not willing to validate anything that the medium is telling you, and when I say validate, I don't want clients telling me anything about their loved ones prior to our reading. I even have people who book their session under a false name, and that's fine. Because anybody who thinks I have the time or the energy to go researching people online, I mean, please keep your money. So I typically, as a medium, I don't want to know anything about clients prior to our session. I find it very distracting when clients will try to tell me their whole life story and all about their loved ones. And, in doing that, you kind of take some of the power away from the experience itself. I really want, as a medium, I want the people that are important to you, the pets that were important to you, I want them to relay details to me that I would have no way of knowing, so that you leave our session without a doubt that they're still with you. So I would say a certain amount of skepticism is healthy, but it also really helps sustain the medium's connection to the other side when you validate what they're telling you. So if I describe to you, I'm just going to use this as a silly example, but if I were to say, I'm seeing a woman who feels like your grandmother on your mom's side, and I keep seeing her in this purple colored dress. It looks like a dress to me, maybe a nightgown, but I'm seeing like little patches of grayish looking light gray flowers all over the front of it. Does that make sense to you? And so I, as a medium, would just expect a simple yes or no and leave it at that. That simple yes or no validation really helps the spirit world know that you're really invested in the experience. Because when I've had clients, they come to mediumship readings, and they may be, they have one or two people that they're really hoping to hear from, and if they don't hear from those two people, then they convince themselves, that the whole experience is just wasted. And very often, I tell clients, I have no control over who will come through. I don't know what they're going to show me. I don't know what information is going to get relayed. I'm literally just an interpreter. I work here, I just work here on this planet. The message needs to come from the spirit world. But it's kind of like dialing a telephone. Like if somebody calls you and you don't pick up the phone, you don't answer, they're going to hang up. And that's what spirit does. If you don't validate the information that they're giving with a simple yes or no, spirit, tends to not be able to sustain that connection with us. With that said, I would come in with an open mind, because a lot of people, as I said, they have expectations for who they want to hear from, and they convince themselves, if I don't hear from these few people, then the whole experience is wasted. Well, it may be somebody else that maybe you haven't thought about in years that really wants or needs to make a connection with you. It could be somebody that it could be a loved one of someone that you know who comes through with a message. A message for that person that who is still alive. So spirit works in a lot of different ways, and I, as a medium, I have no control over who comes through or what they're going to show me. I literally just give it as I get it. For that reason, I record all of our sessions. I send a copy of the recording for the session to each client. I want you to be able to kind of refer back to it, because I even know in readings that I've had, I've gone to mediums before and something didn't quite make sense at the time. I remember one reading I had, I couldn't identify the person that they were telling me about at first. And I was like, it could be a couple of people. I'm not really sure. And they were describing an older man and said that, they saw a lot of agriculture around him. and he was kind of quiet, but they weren't really getting a whole lot on him. And so I thought, okay, I might know who that is. That might be my maternal grandfather. It could be a couple other people. And then, later on in the reading, I knew instantly who it was, because they said, I also have a woman here in spirit who literally just shoved him out of the way and said, no, get out of the way. I'm going to talk now. And I knew instantly who that was. That was my maternal grandmother. That was very much her personality. She was kind of like, I don't want to be mean in saying this, but she was kind of the one who wore the pants in the family. So pushing him out of the way, he was always kind of a quiet guy. He was kept to himself. So that helped validate who he was. And I knew instantly who the female was. It's my grandmother, and she's actually come through in readings with 2 different mediums since her passing. She passed about 3 years ago. Really remarkable. I've gone to mediums over the years as well, and I know one person I always really wanted to connect with was my great grandmother on my dad's side. She passed away on New Year's Day in 2002. Was really, really close to her. She was kind of like a mother figure to me. And no medium that I'd been to, I felt had really connected with her. There was one that I was kind of like, maybe, way back when. But I had a reading pretty recently with somebody, and they were describing her hairstyle, or hair color, her mannerisms, even described her wearing they saw this person in a black dress with white polka dots on it. And I actually sent the medium a picture of her after the fact, and I look really dorky in the picture. I've got these huge eyeglasses on, these Coke bottle eyeglasses. When I was about 14 or 15, and was at my dad's wedding, and the picture has myself, my late grandmother, and my great grandmother in the picture. And in the picture, my great grandmother is wearing this black dress with white spots on it, white polka dots. But I mean, that to me was incredibly healing. Getting that validating information, that very specific information that there's no way this person could have possibly known about that picture. I only have one copy of it. I recently posted it on my Facebook page, after I had the reading. But it knocked my socks off, and it was almost like I could feel her presence with me. I feel her here with me now as I'm talking about her. It's a little eerie, but even picked up on the fact that like I used to kind of hide out in her bedroom, in my grandparents' house when I was a child. Described how the house was set up, and said that she's got a room on the bottom floor, and I feel like you spent a lot of your time there, especially when things would get kind of stressful. And that's exactly where I stayed. I stayed with great grandmother in her bedroom on the first floor. It was actually a split level house. So she lived kind of below ground. But those are the kind of details that you can expect in an evidential mediumship reading. Like I said, you don't control the reading. I don't control the reading. Spirit controls the reading. So I have no way of knowing who's going to come through, what they're going to say or not say. I literally give it as I get it. I would encourage you, to spend a little bit of time, before reading, maybe reflecting on 1 or 2 people that you really would like to hear from. That's no guarantee that they're necessarily going to come through. You could get other people that come through that you're not expecting to hear from. But spend a little bit of time in reflection and really kind of think about and maybe write down of questions that you have that you don't tell me about. And just see how much of that gets answered during our time together. can be a really healing, powerful experience. In fact, I've mentioned this in other videos, but there are a couple of scientific research institutes in the U.S. and in other parts of the world. They have a few in England, where they've actually studied mediums under research conditions, and the accuracy rate of some of these mediums is over 90%. So there's actually some research that suggests that mediumship may even be a valuable adjunct to traditional grief therapy. It might help people heal from their grief in a shorter period of time. But definitely check out my website. I have some information on mediumship on there. There's some links on there. And if you like this video, be sure to give me a like and subscribe. But you can reach my website. You can go online at briansharpcounseling.com. And I've got tons of info on there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer your questions. Or you can leave them in the comments here. But I look forward to seeing everyone next time. I hope you have a great rest of your week. You guys take care.